I was 12 the first time my sister stole something that mattered to me. Not a borrowed sweater or a tube of lip gloss. She took Rachel Morrison, the first real friend I'd ever made. Rachel lived 3 houses down from us in Riverside, Connecticut, where the maple trees lined perfect sidewalks and everyone knew everyone's business. She was the girl who laughed at my terrible jokes and didn't mind that I couldn't afford the designer jeans all the other 7th graders wore. We'd spend hours at the library after school, hiding in the biography section, making up stories about dead presidents having secret lives as spies. Then my sister Amanda noticed. Amanda was 15, already beautiful in that effortless way that made adults stop mid-sentence when she walked into a room. Long honey blonde hair that caught the light just right, green eyes that sparkled when she smiled, which she did often because she knew exactly what that smile could get her. I was the awkward middle child, braces, frizzy brown hair I couldn't control, perpetually wearing our older brother's hammer-down hoodies because they were comfortable and I didn't care. But I should have cared more about protecting what was mine. It started innocently enough. Amanda would ask to come with us to the mall. Then somehow Rachel would end up shopping with just her while I trailed behind. She'd text Rachel funny memes and inside jokes I wasn't part of. She'd invite Rachel over when I was at my piano lessons, which Mom insisted I take even though I had no talent for it whatsoever. Within 3 months, Rachel was Amanda's best friend. They had sleepovers I wasn't invited to. They went to high school parties together once Rachel convinced her parents she was mature enough. And me? I was back to eating lunch alone in the library, hiding behind those same presidential biographies, wondering what I'd done wrong. When I finally worked up the courage to ask Rachel why she ditched me, she just shrugged. Amanda's more fun, I guess. No offense, but you're kind of boring. I cried into my pillow that night, quiet enough that nobody heard. That was my first lesson. Amanda didn't just take things. She made you feel grateful she'd even noticed them in the first place. I thought maybe it was a phase. Maybe as we got older, Amanda would grow out of whatever competitive instinct made her need everything I had. I was so wrong. The pattern continued like clockwork through high school. Junior year, I finally made the varsity soccer team after being on JV for 2 years. I'd worked my butt off, staying late after practice to run drills until my legs shook. Coach Henderson told me I had real potential, maybe even a shot at a college scholarship if I kept improving. Amanda, who'd never shown the slightest interest in soccer, suddenly decided she wanted to try out for the team. She was a senior, so it was her last chance. She told Mom and Dad over dinner. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could play together? Sister bonding? Mom practically glowed at the idea. Dad nodded approvingly, already imagining us as some kind of athletic dynasty. Only our older brother Kevin caught my eye across the table, giving me a look that said he knew exactly what was happening. Amanda made varsity, of course. She was naturally athletic, picking up in weeks what had taken me months to learn. But worse than that, she became the star. The one Coach Henderson focused on during games. The one the local newspaper interviewed when we made it to regionals. My potential scholarship? It went to Amanda instead. Full ride to Boston University. You'll get there too, Mom assured me as we stood in Amanda's dorm room that August, helping her unpack. Maybe not on a soccer scholarship, but your grades are good. You'll find your path. I went to Central Connecticut State University on a partial academic scholarship and a mountain of student loans. It was fine. Not everyone gets their dream school, right? I majored in graphic design, found a decent group of friends, and for 4 years, I actually felt like myself. Amanda was 2 hours away, living her perfect life, and I was finally out of her shadow. Then I met Derek. Derek Chen was a teaching assistant in my senior capstone class, just finishing his master's in architecture. He had this quiet confidence about him, dark hair that fell across his forehead when he leaned over design plans, and he actually listened when I talked about my work. Not just heard, listened. Asked questions that showed he'd been paying attention. We started dating in October of my senior year. By Christmas, I was head over heels in love with him in that terrifying way where you can actually picture your whole life with someone. He'd make me coffee every morning before class, bringing it to me with a terrible drawing on the cup, stick figures of us holding hands, or a lopsided dog because he knew I wanted one someday. You're going to do amazing things, he told me one night in his tiny apartment, both of us huddled under blankets because his heater was broken. I can't wait to watch you build your career. I should have known better than to introduce him to my family during spring break. Amanda came home that same week, surprising us all. She'd graduated the previous year and was working for some marketing firm in Boston, dating a finance guy named Trevor who wore expensive suits and talked about cryptocurrency. But apparently, they were taking a break. The night I brought Derek to family dinner, Amanda walked into the kitchen wearing a sundress that made her look like she'd stepped out of a catalogue. I watched Derek's face when he first saw her. That split-second pause, the slight widening of his eyes. I'd seen it 100 times before with other guys. But Derek recovered quickly, smiling at me and squeezing my hand. "So you're the famous Amanda," he said politely. "Nice to finally meet you." Amanda's smile could have lit up the whole house. "I've heard so much about you. My little sister's been keeping you all to herself." Dinner was fine. Normal. Amanda told funny stories about her job. Dad complained about his golf game. Mom asked Derek about his thesis project. I started to relax. Maybe I'd been paranoid. Maybe Amanda had actually grown up. Then Derek started coming home with me more often on weekends. And Amanda started coming home more often too. Funny how that worked. She'd join us for movie nights, squeezing onto the couch between us. She'd suggest all four of us, her, me, Derek, and Kevin, go out for dinner, then monopolize the conversation with industry connections she could make for Derek's future firm. She was just being sisterly, Mom said. Wasn't it wonderful how well everyone got along? The texts started in June. Derek showed me at first, Amanda asking his advice about a design element for a marketing campaign. Professional stuff. Then the texts got more frequent. She'd send them late at night, just random thoughts or funny observations. Derek would tell me about them, show me his phone when I asked. Until he stopped mentioning them altogether. By August, Derek was pulling away, cancelling plans last minute, seeming distracted when we were together. I knew what was happening. I'd seen this movie before, but part of me refused to believe it. Not Derek. Not the man who'd drawn stick figures on my coffee cups. Not the man who'd held me while I cried about my grandmother's death, who'd helped me build my design portfolio piece by piece. I found out the truth at Kevin's birthday party in September. I'd arrived early to help Mom set up, and Derek was supposed to come later after meeting. But he showed up 2 hours early, walking into the backyard with Amanda. They weren't holding hands or anything obvious like that. But there was something about the way they moved together, the intimate laugh they shared over some private joke, the way he touched her elbow to guide her through the gate. Mom saw them and smiled. "Oh, Amanda. I didn't know you were bringing Derek." My stomach dropped. "What?" Amanda looked at me then, and for just a second, I saw it, triumph in her eyes. Pure, undiluted victory. Then it was gone, replaced by a performance of shock and concern. "Olivia, I am so sorry," she said, using my full name like we were strangers. "I didn't want you to find out like this. Derek and we've been seeing each other. It just happened. We tried to fight it, but..." Derek at least had the decency to look ashamed. "Liv, I'm sorry. I never meant for this to happen. But Amanda and we just connect," Amanda finished, reaching for his hand. On a level that's hard to explain. I stood there in my parents' backyard, surrounded by birthday decorations for my brother, and something inside me just broke. Not like the other times. This wasn't tears and pillow screaming. This was something colder. Final. When? I asked quietly. Derek couldn't meet my eyes. "It doesn't matter." "When?" 3 months ago, Amanda answered, chin raised defiantly. "We didn't mean for it to happen, but you can't help who you fall in love with." 3 months. While he was still sleeping in my bed. While he was still saying he loved me. While I was planning our future together. I walked out of that party without another word. Drove back to my apartment and sat in the dark for hours. Kevin called 17 times. Mom left voicemails about understanding that these things happen, that we're all adults. Dad texted, "Let's not make this a bigger deal than it needs to be." Only Kevin drove 2 hours to check on me. Found me still sitting in the dark at midnight. "She's a monster," he said simply, sitting down beside me on my ratty second-hand couch. "She's always been a monster. And Mom and Dad refuse to see it. Why does she do this?" My voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. What did I ever do to her? Kevin was quiet for a long moment. "I don't think it's about you. I think she just needs to prove she can take anything she wants." That she's better than everyone else. Better than you especially, because you're the one who's actually good. I almost laughed at that. I'm not good. I'm just the doormat who keeps letting her walk all over me. So stop letting her. But I didn't know how. Fighting Amanda had never worked. She was better at it, always had been. She could twist any confrontation until somehow I was the unreasonable one, the jealous little sister who couldn't be happy for her. So I did what I'd always done. I picked up the pieces and moved on. The year after Derek was hard. I threw myself into work, taking a job at a small design agency in Hartford called Bridgepoint Creative. The pay wasn't great, but my boss, a woman named Patricia who'd started the company 20 years ago, actually appreciated my work. She gave me real projects, listened to my ideas, let me take creative risks. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment in West Hartford, got a cat named Waffles who was fat and judgmental and perfect, and slowly rebuilt my life into something that felt like mine. I went to therapy. Dr. Martinez helped me understand that what Amanda had done wasn't normal sibling rivalry. It was something darker, more pathological. Some people, Dr. Martinez said during one session, are like emotional vampires. They don't just want what you have, they need to see you lose it. Your pain is part of their pleasure. I stopped going home for holidays. Made excuses at first, work deadlines, prior commitments, until eventually I just told Mom the truth. I couldn't be around Amanda. Mom cried. Dad called it childish. Kevin understood and started meeting me for lunch once a month instead, giving me updates I didn't really want about how Amanda and Derek were doing. They got engaged after a year. Mom sent me a picture of the ring, obscenely large diamond, exactly the kind of flashy thing Amanda loved. The wedding was planned for the following summer at some vineyard in the Berkshires. I wasn't invited, which was fine by me. I focused on my work, on my friends, on becoming the person I wanted to be without Amanda's shadow looming over everything. Patricia promoted me to senior designer, trusting me with major client accounts. I won an award for a rebranding campaign I'd led. Small victories, but they were mine. Untouched by Amanda's poison. Then, 2 years after Derek, I met Cameron. I wasn't looking for anyone. I'd pretty much decided I was better off alone, that relationships weren't worth the risk of having something else for Amanda to take. But Cameron wasn't someone you could plan for. He was the owner of a small bookstore cafe called Chapter and Verse that had hired Bridgepoint to redesign their website and marketing materials. I went to the initial meeting expecting some pretentious literary snob, but Cameron was different. Warm. Funny in a self-deprecating way. He wore flannel shirts and reading glasses and had this habit of running his hand through his auburn hair when he was thinking. I'll be honest, he said during that first meeting, I know nothing about design or marketing. My strength is matching people with books they didn't know they needed. So I'm completely in your hands. We clicked immediately. The project was supposed to take 6 weeks. We stretched it to 3 months, finding excuses for additional meetings, longer consultations over coffee. He'd recommend books to me, everything from literary fiction to true crime to graphic novels. I'd send him design mock-ups and he'd respond with thoughtful feedback and terrible puns. Is this weird? He asked one day, for months into what had long stopped being a professional relationship. We were in the bookstore after hours, surrounded by stacks of new inventory he was cataloging. Me asking you out for real? Not as a client thing. I smiled. First genuine smile I'd had in years. Extremely weird. Let's do it. Cameron was steady in a way I didn't know people could be. He didn't play games. When he said he'd call, he called. When he made plans, he kept them. He met my friends and actually remembered their names and the details of their lives. He asked about my work and listened to my answers. He let me take things slow, never pushing, just being reliably, wonderfully present. After 6 months, I finally told him about Amanda. All of it, Rachel, Derek, the lifetime of small and large betrayals. He listened without interrupting, his hand warm around mine. That's abuse, he said quietly when I finished. You know that, right? What she's done to you your whole life, that's not normal sibling stuff. I know. And you don't have to let her anywhere near your life now. Near us. Us. The word made my chest tight with happiness and terror in equal measure. Because us meant I had something to lose again. I kept Cameron away from my family for over a year. Kevin met him and loved him immediately, They bonded over their shared appreciation for obscure craft beers and even more obscure punk bands from the 90s. But I made Kevin swear not to mention Cameron to our parents. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You can't hide him forever, Kevin said during one of our monthly lunches. Eventually you'll run into Mom at the grocery store or something, and she'll ask why you're buying 2 steaks. I'll tell her I really like steak. Kevin laughed, but his eyes were serious. You're thinking about marrying this guy? I was. Cameron had started looking at rings. He thought he was being subtle about it, but I'd caught him browsing jewelry websites when he thought I wasn't looking. The thought filled me with equal parts joy and absolute terror. What if, I started, then stopped? What if Amanda tries to take him too? Kevin finished. Then she'll fail. Because Cameron's not Derek. He actually loves you. I wanted to believe that. God, I wanted to believe that so badly. The universe, apparently, had other plans. Mom called in late October, 2 years into my relationship with Cameron. Your father's having a big birthday party, she said without preamble. His 60th. We're renting out the country club. Everyone's coming, your cousins, the Hendersons from church, everyone. That sounds nice. Have fun. Olivia. Mom's voice took on that particular tone I'd learned to dread. You need to be there. This is important to your father. And it's been 3 years. Don't you think it's time to let the past go? Amanda feels terrible about what happened. Amanda has never felt terrible about anything in her entire life. Silence. Then, she's your sister. She's getting married in 3 months. Derek is part of our family now. You can't just cut us all off forever because you're still hurt about her sleeping with my boyfriend? About her systematically destroying every friendship and relationship I've ever had since I was 12 years old. That's not fair. Amanda never meant. I hung up. Then immediately felt guilty, because that's what a lifetime of this does to you. It makes you feel guilty for having boundaries. Cameron found me sitting on our couch, because he'd moved in 6 months ago, and I still sometimes couldn't believe I got to keep him, staring at my phone. Family stuff, he asked gently. I told him about the party, about the demand that I show up and play happy family, about how even thinking about being in the same room as Amanda made me feel like I couldn't breathe. So don't go, he said simply. It's my dad's birthday. And he's had 59 other birthdays you've celebrated. Missing one because your emotional vampire sister will be there isn't a crime. He paused. Unless, do you want to go? To prove something to yourself. Did I? I'd spent 3 years building a life Amanda couldn't touch. I had a career I loved, friends who actually cared about me, a man who knew all my broken pieces and loved me anyway. Maybe it was time to face her and show myself, that she didn't have power over me anymore. If I go, I said slowly, I want you to come with me. Cameron didn't hesitate. Absolutely. I've been dying to meet this legendary monster sister of yours. She's going to try something. Then we'll handle it. Together. That word again. Together. It made me brave enough to text Mom back, I'll be there. I'm bringing my boyfriend. Her response was immediate and enthusiastic, all previous tension forgotten. She was already planning what we'd wear, asking about dietary restrictions for Cameron, mentioning how excited everyone would be to meet him. Like the last 3 years of estrangement hadn't happened. I didn't tell her anything about Cameron beyond his name. Didn't mention the bookstore or that we lived together or that I was pretty sure there was a ring hidden somewhere in his sock drawer. Let her be surprised. Let Amanda walk in blind. For once, I'd have the advantage. Or so I thought. The morning of Dad's party, I stood in front of my closet for 20 minutes, trying to decide what armor to wear. Cameron finally pulled out a deep blue dress I'd bought on a whim and never worn, fitted but not tight, elegant but not trying too hard. You look beautiful in blue, he said. And more importantly, you'll feel confident. That's what matters today. He wore a charcoal suit that made him look unfairly handsome, his auburn hair slightly tousled in that effortless way some guys could pull off. We looked good together. Like a couple who belonged to each other. The drive to Riverside took 45 minutes. Cameron held my hand the entire way, his thumb tracing circles on my palm when he felt me tensing up. We can still turn around, he said as we pulled into the country club parking lot. We can go get pizza and binge-watch cooking shows and pretend this never happened. Tempting. But I need to do this. The party was already in full swing when we walked in. The country club's main ballroom was decorated in navy and gold, Dad's college colors, with round tables scattered around a dance floor. A bar was set up in the corner, already crowded with my father's golf buddies. I spotted Kevin immediately, standing with his wife Jennifer near the windows. He saw us and started making his way over. Then I saw Amanda. She was holding court at a table near the center of the room, Derek beside her looking vaguely uncomfortable in a suit that probably cost more than my rent. She'd cut her hair into a sleek bob that framed her face perfectly, and she wore a cream-colored dress that probably violated some unwritten rule about not upstaging the guest of honor. Several of my cousins and family friends surrounded her, laughing at something she'd said. She looked up as Kevin reached us, and her eyes locked on Cameron. I watched her face go through several calculations in the span of a second. Surprise. Assessment. That familiar gleam of interest. Then a smile, dazzling, warm, the one she used when she wanted something. Livy. She was already moving toward us, arms outstretched like we were the closest sisters in the world. Oh my God, you came. And you brought someone. She hugged me before I could step back, her perfume overwhelming. Then she turned that smile on Cameron, extending her hand. You must be Cameron. I'm Amanda, the sister you've heard so many terrible things about. She laughed, making it sound like a joke we were all in on. I'm so glad Livy finally feels comfortable enough to bring someone around the family. After everything. Cameron shook her hand politely but didn't release mine. Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. Nothing good, I'm sure. Another laugh, eyes sparkling. Livy and I have had our issues over the years, but that's just sisters, right? We're working through it. Are we? I asked quietly. Amanda's smile didn't falter. Of course we are. Life's too short to hold grudges. Right, Derek? Derek had joined us, and he looked decidedly less comfortable than his fiancé. Hey, Liv. Been a while. Not long enough. Awkward silence. Kevin jumped in. Cameron, let me get you a drink. I need to warn you about which relatives to avoid. Oh, stay. Amanda grabbed Cameron's other arm, and I felt him stiffen. I want to hear all about how you two met. Livy's been so secretive about you. We're all dying to know everything. And just like that, she'd positioned herself in the center of our group, commanding attention, making it impossible to gracefully escape. This was her talent, making her intrusions seem natural, even welcome. Making you seem rude if you tried to create distance. I watched her work over the next hour. She didn't flirt with Cameron, nothing so obvious. Instead, she asked intelligent questions about his bookstore, mentioned authors she loved, discovered shared interests with the precision of a heat-seeking missile. She laughed at his jokes but not too much. Touched his arm occasionally but briefly. Drew him into conversations with other family members, making sure everyone knew she was the one introducing him around. Cameron, to his credit, remained polite but distant. He kept gravitating back to my side, his hand finding mine, creating small moments of connection that shut Amanda out. But I could see her wheels turning. She'd identified a challenge. The real test came after dinner. Dad had given a speech thanking everyone for coming, gotten emotional about turning 60 and having his whole family together. Mom had cried. Even I'd felt a pang of something, not quite forgiveness, but maybe a wistful sadness for what our family could have been. Then Amanda clinked her glass, standing up at her table. I hope you don't mind, Daddy, but Derek and I wanted to share some news while everyone's here together. She glowed, absolutely radiated happiness. We've decided to move the wedding up. We're getting married next month instead of waiting until spring. Gasps. Applause. Mom immediately burst into tears again. Dad was beaming. Everyone was congratulating them, asking what prompted the change. Amanda's eyes found mine across the room. We just couldn't wait any longer, she said. When you know, you know. Right, Livy? And there it was. The game. She was rushing the wedding to force my hand, either skip it and be the bitter sister, or come and watch her marry my ex-boyfriend while she studied Cameron, looking for weaknesses. Cameron leaned close to my ear. We don't have to stay. But I couldn't leave. Not yet. Because something in Amanda's expression had shifted when she looked at Cameron. Something calculating. And I realized with absolute certainty that she was already planning how to take him from me. I didn't fight back. That's the part that surprised everyone, including me. After the party, Kevin called immediately. "You're just going to let her?" "I'm not letting her do anything," I said calmly. "I'm just not playing her game anymore." Because I'd seen something at that party. Something small but significant. When Amanda was talking to Cameron, Derek had been watching. And the look on his face wasn't the smug satisfaction of a man who'd won a prize. It was the hollow-eyed exhaustion of someone who'd realized too late what he'd actually gotten. I started paying attention after that. Not to Amanda's attempts to circle Cameron, and she tried, oh she tried. Sudden visits to Hartford for work meetings. Texts to Cameron asking for book recommendations. Mentions that she and Derek were thinking of opening their own business and could really use advice from someone who'd done it successfully. Cameron shut her down every time with polite firmness. "That's nice, but you should probably discuss business plans with actual business consultants." "Sorry, I don't really text with my girlfriend's family members." "Thanks, but we're busy that weekend." No, what I paid attention to was Amanda's life. Really looked at it for the first time without the filter of my own pain. She'd rushed the wedding, but the engagement photos she posted looked strangely joyless. Derek smiled in them, but his eyes were flat. Amanda looked perfect, but there was something brittle in her perfection. Kevin confirmed it during one of our lunches. They fight constantly. Derek came to Mom and Dad's last week, and I was there picking up my tools from their garage. He looked miserable. When I asked if he was okay, he just said, "Your sister is very high maintenance." That's what he signed up for. Maybe. But I don't think he realized what he was getting. Amanda's been trying to completely remake him. New job, new friends, new apartment in Boston she picked out. She's even mad that he talks to his college friends because they're not ambitious enough. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. The wedding was small. They'd rushed it too much to plan the big vineyard affair Amanda had originally wanted. I didn't go. Sent a card with a gift card to a nice restaurant, because Cameron convinced me it was the high road. Mom called afterward, crying about how I'd missed such an important day. "How's Amanda doing?" I asked. "She's perfect. So happy." The wedding was beautiful, even if it was smaller than we'd hoped. They're looking at houses in Newton now. Very expensive area. Amanda has excellent taste. 3 months later, Amanda called me for the first time in years. "Livy." Her voice was strained. "Can we talk?" I almost hung up, but something made me hesitate. "About what?" A long pause. "I think I made a mistake." I met her at a coffee shop halfway between Hartford and Boston, against every instinct and Cameron's concerned advice. She looked different, still beautiful, but the polish was cracking. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled. Her designer bag seemed more like armor than an accessory. "Derek's cheating on me," she said without preamble. "With some paralegal at his firm. I found texts." I sipped my coffee and waited. "I know what you're thinking," she continued. "Karma, right? I get what I deserve. But I really loved him, Livy. I really did." "Did you?" I asked quietly. "Or did you just love winning?" Her face crumpled. Real tears, maybe the first genuine emotion I'd ever seen from her. "I don't know anymore. I thought I did, but being married to him is so different from what I imagined. He resents me. He's angry all the time. He says I'm never satisfied, that nothing he does is good enough. And maybe he's right. Maybe I don't know how to be happy with what I have." This was the moment I'd imagined 1,000 times. Amanda, broken, admitting she was wrong. Asking for forgiveness, maybe. Or at least understanding. But sitting there, watching my sister cry into a latte I wasn't sure she was even tasting, I didn't feel the satisfaction I'd expected. I just felt sad for both of us, for all the years wasted on this toxic dance. "I can't help you," I said finally. "I'm not the person who can fix this for you. I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm just trying to understand why I am the way I am. Why I always need." She trailed off. "Need what? To take things from me specifically? To prove you're better? To prove I'm worth something?" Her voice broke. "To prove I'm not invisible." And there it was. The truth underneath all of it. Amanda, the golden child, the beautiful one, the successful one, she felt invisible unless she was taking something someone else wanted. Unless she was winning. You should talk to someone, I said. A therapist. Because whatever validation you're looking for, you're never going to find it by destroying other people. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Are you happy? With Cameron? Very. Good. That's good. She stood up, gathering her expensive bag and her phone. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For all of it. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know. I watched her leave, this woman who'd haunted my whole life, and I felt something unexpected, pity. Because I was going home to Cameron and Waffles and my little life I'd built from scratch, and it was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything. Amanda was going home to a husband who cheated on her, a marriage built on winning instead of love, and the hollow realization that she'd spent her whole life taking things she didn't actually want. 6 months later, I heard through Kevin that Amanda and Derek were divorced. Quick, quiet, expensive. Amanda moved back to Riverside, got a new job, started seeing the therapist I'd suggested. We're not close. I don't know if we ever will be. But she stopped trying to take things from me, stopped competing with shadows. Sometimes we see each other at family holidays. I go now, occasionally, when I feel strong enough. We're polite. Distant. Maybe that's the best we can do. Cameron and I got engaged 6 months after Amanda's wedding fell apart. He proposed at the bookstore, surrounded by all my favorite books, with Waffles and a little bow tie because he'd somehow convinced my cat to cooperate. It was perfect. It was ours. Untouched by Amanda's poison. I invited her to the wedding. She sent regrets and a generous gift. Maybe someday we'll rebuild something. Maybe not. But I learned that the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building a life so full of genuine happiness that the people who tried to take from you become irrelevant. It's learning that you don't have to fight every battle. Some battles fight themselves. I let karma handle Amanda. And watching her face the consequences of her own choices taught me something I'd never learned in all those years of losing. Sometimes winning means knowing when to walk away. I walked away. And I won everything that actually mattered.